you, City Council members. I'm going to turn it over very quickly here to the Madam Mayor. I just wanted to welcome you all to our budget workshop number 3. So over to you, Madam Mayor.
Actually, Tanya, I think the city administrator is going to take the lead-off position for this workshop. So thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, CFO, Honorable Council President, members of the City Council, Johnny Perkins, City Administrator. It's a pleasure to introduce this workshop session number 3 of Mayor Nadine Woodward's 2022 preliminary budget. This will be a quality of life focus, and I'm pleased and honored to introduce the Honorable Nadine Woodward, Mayor of Spokane, who will be part of the presenters. Stephen McDonald, who is our new Director of Economic and Development Services, our Chief Financial Officer, Tanya Wallace, and we are joined this afternoon by the Mayor's entire cabinet. And so members of Mayor Woodward's cabinet, welcome. They are going to be here to answer any questions that may come up in their subject matter expert area. So with that, Tanya, I will hand it back to you.
All right, thank you. So we have an agenda for you today. Like our other workshops, we're going to talk a little bit about the primary revenue sources for today's topics. Then we're going to go into the very specific proposals that the mayor has put in front of you with some of her initiatives, a big focus on homelessness. This does seem to be the centerpiece of the conversations of late, and then housing. And of course, Johnny has already talked a little bit about the presenters. Okay, in our quality of life funding bucket, you can see that there's a general fund, human services funds. There are several of them, and these are special revenue funds. Park and recreation fund, the library fund, local affordable housing and supportive services fund, and then the state affordable housing sales tax credit fund. We're not really going to talk about park and library operations today. That will be next Friday. We'll give you a little bit of insight into that so that we could have a little more time focused on homelessness. But we are going to cover that in our funding sources for our quality of life bucket. Okay, Paul? One quick thing, if we're in a room and we're kind of sharing a microphone, we're spread apart, but if you can't hear us, please, Hannah Lee, if you could give us an indication that we're not being heard clearly, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya, and good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, City Council. So as Tanya just mentioned, we're going to go quickly over the quality of life revenue sources and funding sources. Again, this includes the CHHS General Fund Department, Suite of Human Services, Special Revenue Funds, Parks and Recreation, Spokane Public Library, and again, as Tanya mentioned, is the 2 affordable housing sales tax funds, the city's 0.1% sales tax, and the credit against the state share of the local sales tax. You can see on this slide the total revenue for that group is approximately $79 million in the 2022 preliminary budget. The largest share, 37%, comes from general governmental revenue. That's again your sales, property, utility taxes, and it's primarily transferred to Parks and Library for their operations. Federal and state grants combined equal approximately 36% of the revenue as well. On the allocation side, the CHHS group accounts for nearly half of the overall spend in the 2022 preliminary budget. Parks and Library combined for 43% of that overall $83.4 million on the allocations. And then now this slide shows a little more detail on the CHHS group revenue sources. Of the $34 million in the 2022 preliminary budget, across all of the CHHS special revenue funds, almost 90% comes from the federal and state government through HUD, State Commerce, and Treasury. Now, Jake Miller will take us through the next few slides for CHHS financials, both actuals and budget.
So first, we want to look at the CHHS actuals for funding, and the little section on the top left, the chart there, just shows the comparison of CHHS's normal operations and compares it to COVID-19 funding that was received starting in 2020. 2021 actuals aren't included here, just since we're still ongoing there, but you can see that 6.1 million of funding occurring in 2020 with much to follow, of course, and that'll kind of show itself on the next slide with net budget. And then looking at the right for actuals, we see what their funding sources by program type, essentially homelessness and housing and community development. Homelessness and housing are certainly related, but splitting them by these sections, we have about 50% each approximately for 2017 through 2019, and then a little bit of a shift to homelessness focus in 2020 actuals. And then if we move on to the net budget, you'll notice first off in the top left that the 2021 net budget is much larger than the others. The main reason for this is encumbrance rollover, in addition to just growth in funding due to COVID-19. So you see that 24.2 million there in 2021 for COVID-19. That's primarily made up of emergency rental assistance, among other homelessness initiatives due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We already have 10 million budgeted in 2022 for COVID-19 assistance, and then you can see the normal CHHS operations down there in 2022 back down to 24.5 million. That'll likely look more like 2021 with encumbrance rollover, but that's to be seen. So we'll see when we get to that year. And then on the top right side, we have our funding sources by program, and we have a similar shift there with 2021 having a much larger budget due to the rollover. A lot of that housing and community development section is that emergency rental assistance, and then other COVID-19 related programs boosting that as well. And then we also have our other just standard CHHS operating grants showing themselves there for homelessness and housing. Ultimately, that's all I necessarily have to say about that.
If I can just interject very quickly, something to note of council, when we do see these encumbrances and these carryovers from one year to the next, which you're seeing very visibly in this chart, we should say a lot of our operating contracts align with the state's fiscal year, which runs July 1st through June 30th. So it kind of splits our fiscal year, which is a good reason why we have a lot of these carryovers and a lot of why these contracts renew in July 1. So we do carry these over. It's anticipated, and we're certainly going to see that at the end of this year with a lot of the encumbrances to continue these contracts that actually will have 6 more months of life in 2022. And that's where, through the encumbrance process, you grant that authority to spend in 2022. So what you're seeing here, specifically for 2022 preliminary, are new dollars for that year. We're definitely going to be carrying over a majority of our 6 months of operation from 21 into 2022, but I thought it was worth clarifying a little bit as to why that encumbrance process is somewhat unique for CHHS.
Tanya, this is Lori.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question on that? I have a concern that this is unique. The dollars that CHHS administers are going out to help people either be housed with rental assistance, a variety of things. And so if they're not going out within the year or within the specified time, my concern is that people are not being helped. So can you clear that up for us?
Yes, we can certainly look at the duration of these grants. We can't forget, for example, and I'm just going to use the ARP as an example, it actually has a 3.5-year duration. So it should not be expected that we would spend all of it within the first 6 months, that we'd want to spread it equally or near equally. But we will definitely take a look at that. But a lot of these grants do have a duration, a life. So it just gives the impression that we're not spending it fast enough. But we will take a little closer look at that, Councilmember
I understand that, but remember, when people are suffering, they're not really too concerned about if this can be stretched over a year's period or 2-year period. So I want to make sure that we're being sensitive to the community needs.
Definitely. Thank you.
Tanya, Betsy here. I just have a question. So, as always, my frustration, these are pretty much pass-through monies, and the expense to us is on the administrative side. So, I'm trying to find out where is the administrative cost to do this work, because it's not coming out of the general fund. So if you can help me with clarity on that, and if that administrative money is not spent, is that returned or where does that land?
We will get the answers to that. Unfortunately, Skylar could not be with us today. That might have some better insight into that. We do put all of the administration into the general fund. We are allowed to take up to 10% because we don't have an approved cost allocation plan. So we are allowed to take up to 10% on these grants, but we do not. And by us not taking the full administrative allowance, that is allowing for more dollars to be spent on the programming than it is on our administrative costs. So our administrative costs are relatively low. But we will get you the exact percentage of administrative costs and also point out exactly where those are, but they are in the general fund, but I will get that exact number for you. Okay, council member?
Thank you.
And one thing I can add to that, of value, Councilmember Wilkerson, is that in many cases, if they're grant funded, you get a refund of those administrative costs. It's not necessarily that you get the majority of that or all of it up front. Or are able to keep it. So it is like a reimbursed expense. So it's kind of as we use it, then we would ask for reimbursement and get the reimbursement from HUD or whatever other agency.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay, moving on to really focus on the proposals, we have quality of life. And we're going to be talking mostly about the homelessness and the housing programming that is presented. And that starts on page 14 of your workbook. So next slide. Some of the key priorities that we've heard from all of you, council, and have had a lot of discussion with the administration on is certainly implementing a comprehensive suite of homelessness and human services. And you're going to see a lot of that from the mayor's presentation of what has transpired since 2020 in completing that comprehensive suite. Also collaboration with regional partners to create a model that provides and includes wraparound services. There's been a lot of discussion with this. We've been at the table with the Valley and with the county on that, and they are actually collaborating far more than they ever have in the past. So a great deal of good work going on there. Establishing the ability to provide regional homelessness data for decision making. We've heard you, council, and Eric and his team are working very hard to get that homelessness data so that we can use it in a very productive way going forward. And then continuing on a continuum, creating and promoting housing incentives. Steve is going to talk a lot about some of those incentives, and certainly resolutions were passed recognizing this, the incentives that could be offered. So we're going to hear more about that. And then plan for the commission of a regional housing and rental market competitive analysis. There's a lot that's been happening specific in our market. So this would be very good information to create a strategic approach going forward and understand fully what is going on with our housing market and our rental market. Right now, we are very much reactive to that, but a good detailed competitive analysis will give us information to go forward.
So, Tanya, sorry, one quick question. So this affordable housing sales tax, you're identifying the 1590 funding?
Yes, that is the 1590. There are two sales tax. One is a credit from the state,
right?
And has a 20-year life. And from that 20-year life, I would suppose, it's an assumption I know, that that is dedicated for capital. It doesn't have to be But with a 20-year life of that funding, that would be the most strategic and best option. And then the 1590 is the sales tax that the council passed in November. And we are starting to collect on that. I believe, and Paul can correct me, that the first full month we received, it was more than $500,000 for the month. So it is coming in fast. And is definitely a viable funding source to put to good use.
So, that is for home ownership. Part of it can go, but the majority of that will be going for home ownership. So we may need more clarity around how those funds are being used.
And we can provide that too.
Tanya, two things. So one, I just piggyback on what Councilman Wilkerson said. I mean, I really think the $1,590 need to go towards housing, and it's the only pot of money available for home ownership opportunities. And so I expressed it to Johnny as well, but I just don't think we should utilize most of or a significant portion of that for the kind of homelessness side of things. But that's just my thinking on that. But my question for you is on that last bullet, the plan for the Commission of a Regional Housing and Rental Market Competitive Analysis. That sounds great, but I guess when I'm seeing that, I guess what I'm reading between the lines, and I'd love to hear some feedback, is, are we doing this because it's going to inform kind of future direction of things? And if so, is that then going to mean that we're going to have to wait a year or 2 or 5 for this to be completed before we can do anything on housing?
That's a great question, and I'm definitely not the best person to answer that. I don't know if there's a cabinet member that can help answer that, but my understanding is that it would certainly give us a good underlying foundation for which we can create a strategy when we have that comprehensive understanding of what is happening in the rental market. And I think it would be a very good thing, because COVID has created a different paradigm for us out there. And things are just going to continue to shift significantly. And as you heard from Dr. Jones, our population has increased quite significantly in the past 3 years. Yeah. And the permitting activity is not keeping up with that growth.
Well, I guess I would just say, I mean, we're 3 months out of approving the HAP. There hasn't been any progress made on anything coming out of that. I know it's been over a year since we approved the overtime review. I don't think that's even been conducted yet. And so I just worry this is going to be 2 years out, and we'll just be kind of sitting around before we see any substantive happen.
And Councilmember Cathcart, yeah. Love them or hate them, did not the realtors just complete a whole survey analysis with people they brought in from across the country to look at the Spokane market? So I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel on this one. We can look at what's been provided, and certainly a jumping off point.
Yes, this is Steve McDonald. The CRE did do an initial report. The final report is due in November, and I think that is something that we can utilize. And I don't think we need many additional studies other than that. The kind of things I'm going to be talking about here a little bit later today are things that we're working on now that will have impact sooner. We're not interested in waiting for further studies. If we find that the study that comes out in November has a good pathway to doing things, we'll be looking at that.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Tonya, this is Lori. I have one question about bullet number 2, talking about collaborate with regional partners to create a model for the provision of wraparound services. And I just want to clarify that, because when the council passed a resolution for that, and it was some years, I want to say 3, but maybe it was 2, our intent was that some of these services would be in areas other than the city of Spokane. And there seems to be no appetite for that whatsoever. We're seeing that money's coming in, but it's coming in to fund things like the Way Out shelter. And so I want to be really intentional that when you say regional partners, that region means that we consider services in other communities where some of the folks who are homeless or need services are currently located.
Excellent point, and I think you'd receive a lot of support from the administration on that.
And if I could, this is Brandy, chime in, Councilmember Kinnear. I do understand that other regional entities are looking at those services and beginning to make plans for services in their own jurisdictions, and I'd be happy to follow up with you on some of that information.
Okay, and with that, council member, I'm going to turn it over to Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Council President Beggs and the rest of council, and thank you for having the cabinet here with us during this study session today. So I am presenting my proposals for the area of homelessness, and really thought the best way to do that would be on a timeline that really talks about the proposals that are for 2022, but the evolution of where we've gone from 2020 to 2022, so that you can see the movement that's been made, the successes that we've done, made as a city and as a region, and funding, continuing to fund a lot of those projects and programs and shelters. So going all the way back to the very beginning of the pandemic, the statewide emergency was declared in February. It was followed by my declaration in March, about a couple of weeks later, ratified by you, the council. We quickly went into, in the month of May, transitioning what would normally be a seasonal warming center into our response to the COVID pandemic. And when we would normally shut down Cannon, our shelter, we decided to continue to house those who were unhoused during the COVID pandemic. We thought it was very, very important to protect our community and our most vulnerable. So we found shelter at 8th Avenue, which was owned by the county at the time. The downtown public library, you'll remember, it had closed for renovation, and we were able to use that for a brief period of time. And then later on that month, we moved from the library to the Spokane Arena for 90 days. During that month, we also started meeting regionally. Councilmember Kinnear, you talk about this regional collaboration on this issue. And because of this pandemic that forced all of us in the region to come together to respond to the pandemic, that also set the stage for us as a region to start talking together at the same table on this issue of homelessness. And so that was the city of Spokane, myself, Council President Beggs, the city of Spokane Valley Council, or Mayor Wick, and the Commissioner, Mary Cuney. And so we've been meeting. I'll tell you what, I think of any issue that we have addressed during this pandemic, we've been meeting regularly for almost a year. It was on a weekly basis to address homelessness, and now we meet every other week. And I just want to thank Council President Beggs for being with me at that table to talk about these issues, to talk about these programs, how we're expanding our response to homelessness, and for making the decisions along with me. I know as he comes out of these meetings, he probably shares a lot with you, Council, on what's been going on for the last year and a half. A lot has been going on. That month, we also started improvements on Cannon. That shelter was purchased in 2019. It needed a lot of renovations. We basically rebuilt that shelter with COVID money. It was the CARES Act funding that we received. So that renovation started in May. Also in May, we met with you. We held 3 different workshops, the administration and the city council. We got to the table and we discussed how we wanted to address homelessness as a city and as a region. We talked about what our priorities were, what our philosophical differences were. We had 3 great meetings, and that really was a time for us to get together and talk about that issue for the very first time. Not long after that, I addressed you in July of 2020 on a homeless system plan at the City Council study session. This was not a plan that necessarily I came up with. It was a plan that I had identified the gaps and the programs missing within our system and aligned with the Continuum of Care's 5-year plan to end homelessness. So I knew that the work that we were going to do as a city, we didn't need to reinvent the wheel on a homelessness plan. But if we work with the continuum of care and we identified priorities that that plan had, and we aligned with that and came along and ushered some of those projects along in shelters, that was going to be the most impactful thing that we have done. And you'll see the progress that we've made since then. August, we had to move out of the arena. We only had 90 days to house our homeless in the arena during COVID. We had to quickly find another space. We were running out of options. And that's when we moved into the Mission Building. And County CARES Act money purchased that building, and Salvation Army was brought in to be the service provider as a emergency drop-in shelter during COVID. That continued to operate for 7 more months until I'll update you on what's going on with that building right now. In September, we experienced record unsafe air quality. And because of the shutdown related to the pandemic, we were able to move into the convention center and for an entire week operate a safer air center 24/7 for those who needed to escape our record dangerous air quality. In October, we were able to, knowing that the winter season was fast approaching, we were able to add 85 more low barrier beds because of COVID. Through our partnerships with Truth Ministry, we bought down their barrier, which was, they require $2 a night for people who stay there. We purchased those beds, and UGM also flexed its space to allow more beds and to flex the capacity within our shelter system. In November, we added to that to come up with 105 low barrier spaces that we were able to add off of the 85 we started in October. And then in November, we started the Cannon Street shelter again as what had historically been a seasonal shelter space. We had the Guardians, contracted with the Guardians to start running Cannon as that seasonal shelter. Next slide, please. Thank you. And then in January, we had some cold snaps, some really severe cold snaps. And because we had some COVID funding, we were able to do something that we hadn't done before, and that was to offer hoteling space for those who needed to get out of the cold. And we didn't have other shelter space or options within the system. So that was an extremely successful program. I don't know if you remember, but Rick Clark from our community, he got on Facebook and he raised all kinds of money and provided even free meals 3 times a day for the people who were hoteling. And I want to thank SNAP because it was their relationships with one of the hotels in town that we were able to do that. By the way, that's something that we plan to do this winter as well, because that proved to be a very good option for us. In February, the work that had been done on the shelter data dashboard from the skilled technicians with the Spokane Police Department. They've been working on the ability to gather data so that we knew night by night what our shelter capacity was like. We ended up piloting that program with our providers, trying to train them and get them used to providing data on a regular basis so that we knew what our capacity was like from night to night and from month to month. So we piloted that in February. You'll see the items that have stars on them. All of the items that you see, those green stars, support the Continuum of Care 5-year plan, which again was my priority. If we're going to add new programs and shelters to the system, it really needed to align with the Continuum of Care. So in April, Volunteers of America opened. I hope you've been able to tour their facility. They do a fantastic job. They house just women. I will say that they have had a little bit of challenges because of lack of staffing. If they could be fully staffed, we'd see even more of those beds used. In May, Volunteers of America also opened up 3 new beds for young adults, 15 at Transitions and 15 within Hope House. And that was to work on our young adult shelter, also part of the Continuum of Care plan. The city, along with the county, we're the main receiver, but we work with the county to receive a commerce funding to operate the young adult shelter. And we needed to find some beds rather quickly. So we have 13 male beds and 15 female beds that we're able to keep people housed until we move into a permanent location. You may already know that the Skapka building was purchased by Volunteers of America. It will start undergoing renovations, and that will be the permanent home of the young adult shelter. Really, really excited about this program. This was an identified gap and a severe need in our region. This is a program that services young adults ages 18 to 24. Oftentimes, these are young people that are on the street or aging out of foster care. And if we can work upstream to get them wraparound services, continuing education and technical training, we prevent the next generation of homelessness in our community. So this project is really exciting. And then May 17th, we brought you up to date with the Finance and Administration Committee meeting on what we were doing with Cannon and the Way Out operation and how far we had come along on renovating those buildings, bringing programs into those buildings and servicing our most needy. In June, I held a news conference after first addressing all of you council on what the plan was. I had a news conference with our partners and let the community know what we were doing as well. In July, for the first time, record heat waves this summer, we opened up cooling centers at our public facilities in Riverfront Park and in our library system, in our community centers. And with volunteers, we were able to provide a safe place for people, whether they were just visiting downtown or if they were unhoused. And we had on any given day 1,000 spaces available for people through that hot July month. We utilized about 15% of the spaces that we had available. In August, we were able to formalize a contract. Truth Ministries has been a great partner in the past, but we never really had a formal contract with them. We bought down all those low barrier beds and we were able to add 45 more spaces, more beds to our regional system. And Truth Ministries has been a wonderful partner. They've been operating on East Sprague for 16 years, right in the business district, right in the middle of that corridor. And they're a great neighbor. They're an example of a great neighbor, a great partner that operates a really good shelter. So good that we could formalize a contract with them. In September, we finalized our night-by-night contract. Thank you, Council, for approving our contract with the Guardians. They won the RFP for that. They've done a great work earlier and continue to do so. This is another star because it supports the Continuum of Care plan to operate Cannon year-round. We got rid of the historical seasonal approach, and now it's night-by-night, but then also day space during the day. So really, really happy that now Cannon is operated year-round. On the 4th of October, you received the draft preliminary budget, which you'll see in there. I'm sure you probably might be surprised, but I am proposing a new night-by-night low barrier shelter. I really want to anticipate what we may see coming out of this pandemic, and I expect that we will have more people who are unhoused because of it. So, and I think we need to prepare for that. And so that proposal is something that I really would love to talk to you about. It would be a shelter, a low barrier night-by-night outside of downtown. It would be in an area where there is still transportation, where people would receive wraparound services. This would be the biggest shelter Spokane has had, or the region has had to date. I'm anticipating 200 beds for this shelter. I don't know if you've ever heard of sprung structures, but they're used very successfully in other cities for a number of applications. They are all weather structures. There's 12,000 of these in 100 countries. They can last through any type of weather. They're quickly erected. They're extremely cost effective. They're energy efficient, and they're very, very flexible. And while we have not identified a location for this, those conversations are ongoing. But this is something that I could see as like a navigation center where people would seek access wraparound services to. And then depending on the position or where they are in their life of being unhoused, we could get them into some of the other shelters that we have. And so this could be erected in as little as 8 weeks once we have a location that we have identified. So really, really excited about that. Also, our regional partnership, just to let you know, that dashboard pilot that we started in February is now going to be out of the hands of the city. It is going to be, County is funding it right now, but it will be with a third party, and it will be accessible to the public and to all of our providers. I think it's a time when we need to launch this, and I think our service providers are equipped and used to now using the system so that it can be outward facing. And then next month, which is very, very exciting. We could go back, yeah, November 6th, the Bridge Housing Program. The renovations have been ongoing since they closed June 30th. And they will start, there's a ribbon cutting, I believe it's November 5th, and they open on the 6th. And will provide 60 beds for those who have made that next decision in their life. That yes, they want to exit homelessness, but this is a place where they can be stabilized with more intensive wraparound services and then assisted as they go into permanent housing. So I hope you can all come to the ribbon cutting for that, because that's very, very exciting. So as you'll see for 2022, as we advance through the regional plan, we need to continue to fund these great programs that are making a difference in our community. So Cannon Street is one of them. We were able to use COVID funding to operate through the first half of 2022. We will need to fund it for the second half of 2022. The new shelter that I spoke of will need to be funded as well. I believe that we could buy the shelter, the sprung structure, for about $1.5 million, but we will also need operating expenses for that. You have committed, council, through an ordinance on the rapid rehousing, $1 million a year for the next 3 years for a future project that is also part of a state commerce grant for operational funds as well. We don't know what that future project might be, but you've committed $3 million for that. We've got the first $1 million in the 2022 budget. Crosswalk, we've committed $1 million for 2022 to get that project off of the ground. That project or that facility will be very, very close to the Young Adult Center on East Mission. I think Crosswalk is just a block away, and that will be a great program too. That's for youth, 18 and younger. As you know, Young Adults and Crosswalk, the priority was to get those two shelters and programs out of downtown, which tends to serve more of the chronically homeless and not a great environment necessarily for young people. So it was very important for Volunteers of America to locate those two shelters outside of downtown. And you've also committed $150,000 annually for hazard sheltering, and that's the cooling centers in the summertime, the clean air, safe air centers in the fall, and then any flex space we need to do in the winter time too for hazardous conditions. And then the way out, we'll need to continue funding that on the city side at $500,000 annually through 2026, but we're stepping into it in 2022. Any questions?
Mayor, no question. I just wanted to thank you for at least bringing forward kind of this innovative idea on this new shelter. I think we've seen some cost estimates on some of these other structures that other organizations are looking at, and it's in the many millions of dollars. And I think if we can come up with something that's innovative, that's just as safe and secure as these other alternatives, and far less expensive, I think that is the way to go. And particularly, I think it's important that we consider kind of the location in some place out of downtown, out of the core of the city, which I think makes a ton of sense. And so I think it's a great idea. We'll have to figure out kind of where that funding comes from. Again, I do have concerns on the 1590 piece, but I think the idea is innovative and definitely the direction that we need to go with these sorts of structures.
Thank you, Councilmember Cathcart. I have had some conversations in the community. There is a lot of interest to fund the operations of this new shelter and a sprung structure, even from the private sector. So that could be a great example of a public-private partnership moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you.
I would like to echo Councilmember Cathcart that indeed it should not be downtown. And this is one of those times where I would urge you to lean in on some of our partners and say, this is a time where this could go in the city of Spokane Valley. It could go in Liberty Lake. It doesn't need to be in the city of Spokane. And so I would go a step further and ask that our partners step up on this and provide, maybe it's not 200, but maybe it's 100 or 50, and take some of that burden off of the city of Spokane in terms of location.
Thank you, Councilmember Kinnear.
Mayor, I'd also add that it needs to be near transportation and services, because we're not just going to be able to create something, say, out on the West Plains, like I've heard about some big tent city. That's just not going to work. We have to have it near the services that they need, or else we're going to be delivering those services out to that distance. We'll still have the obligation. So where it's located, I know we've had some hiccups on locating some other types of places. We do, in our comprehensive plan, have a template for how to site difficult facilities like this. There is a structure that's built into the city, and I, as much as I can, will support us using that structure that engages the community to help us find not just maybe a place, maybe it is in the city, maybe it's outside, but it is a regional issue, and we should all work together and make sure that we're engaging the community and finding just the right spot for this.
Yeah, Councilmember Mom, I appreciate that. And we want to make sure that, as you mentioned, the priority is that it is near transportation. We anticipate this structure to have wraparound services on site, but also kind of that navigation center that then can also refer individuals to other programs that might be a little high barrier to exit them when they are ready. Thank you.
And I do have just one other question, if I might, and I may have missed it in here. I see a lot of, I guess what you call the end of the stream type of assistance, and I'm always interested in upstream. So I think VOA addresses preventive use, and I have a little more. Which ones can you identify are preventive?
Well, the crosswalk is a shelter for youth 18 and under, but it's the young adult shelter. I think that's really going to make a difference. 18 to 24-year-olds. Those are young people who are aging out of foster care or have been on the streets or have been couch surfing with friends. And that is definitely a program that has been identified as a gap by the continuum of care that works upstream to connect young people to services for substance abuse or mental health, but also continuing education and technical training. And that facility, the young adult shelter, is going to be on East Mission, very close to Spokane Community College, which has given it a resounding support and wants to partner in with the education and the training for these young adults.
Yeah, fully support the VOA mission. I just would love to have further conversations with you and the rest of the council on more of these upstream approaches. Thank you.
I absolutely agree with you. And then this last slide that I have is just kind of a look, a broad look at the regional sheltering system. And in the darker colors, you'll see that the impacts from the 2022 budget for funding these programs. And you'll see the different shelters, who they serve, the amount of beds that they have. I will say we just need to make one correction on the emergency shelters. The last column in the emergency shelter, the new shelter that I'm talking about, the sprung structure, the regional partners would be city and private, not Catholic Charities, UGM, Family Promise. Those partners are really supposed to be in the other shelters column right next to it. But you'll see the emergency shelters on the left side and then the targeted population and transitional shelters on the right.
I'm just going to end up with that. And thank you, Mayor, for that. And that was a great review of where we come from. I just have to say again, in this proposal, there's like 3.5 million of 1590 money going to with no sustainability, and then the expectation of ARPA funds to balance this budget. And the ARPA funding will have to go through a request, as will everyone else who is requesting those fundings. I mean, I am supportive, but I'm just cognizant of how this budget is being built on funds. And I didn't get quite clarity of how much of this we could get out of the COC funding, whether it's state or federal, and some more additional information possibly around commerce. I know there's been more conversations around that. So if somebody can get back with me on that, that'd be fine. Don't need it right now, but certainly soon.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilkerson. Okay, if there's no more questions, thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. And Steve is up next with some housing.
Great.
His housing presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Council President, council members, and staff, and the Mayor. Appreciate you taking the time to hear about a small budget request that will help address Spokane's housing crisis. We've all heard about the numbers and the stats, and the stories have been written. Housing prices have gone up over 30% for single family home sales in the last year. Apartment vacancies are at 0.5% of vacancy rate, all-time highs, and rents are increasing dramatically. So we look to address Spokane's housing crisis and the lack of workforce and affordable housing by pursuing actions that are encouraging an expansion of the variety of housing types, different types of housing types, townhomes, cottage homes, and smaller houses, and focusing on infill development, which is the quickest way to get there with existing spaces rather than developing large tracts outside the city center. And getting housing into the infill development is a real way to address that in a quicker fashion. Reducing some of the housing development barriers through looking at our permitting and some of the planning and zoning codes that we have, and assist in providing housing for the most vulnerable populations. They're the ones who are hurt. When the rent goes up as dramatically as it has, they're the ones that get pushed out. And those are that's an area that we need to address absolutely with the types of housing that we're doing and helping to encourage both workforce and affordable housing. As far as progress to date, there'll be more to come, but we have done a significant job in reducing the residential plan review for single family homes from 6 weeks to 2 weeks. And we look to expand that to multifamily, utilizing the consultant that we're currently using. So we're looking into that right now to see how we can impact that. And then underway right now is an evaluation of our various fees, codes, regulations that all negatively impact development of infill and other types of housing. As I mentioned before, the CRE report is due in November. They just did an initial high-level overview, and I think there are some ways that we can count on in that report that we can utilize to help increase the amount of housing in a quick fashion. Next slide, please. So the specific request we have is minor but important in the fact that we're looking for a planning specialist position and temporary seasonal positions to support with the MFTE program, the multifamily tax exemption, which is something that is, the workload has increased dramatically on the staff and they're trying to keep up with it, but it is something that helps support an increase in the number of housing units because it is an incentive to a developer. And so we need to recognize that and have some staff assist and get those processed so that we can get more of that multifamily housing built. And also key to that planning specialist position and the temporary seasonal positions will be reviewing potential code changes in order to help spur further development of this type of infill development. And then also contractual services for updating and providing some financial modeling, again, on the city's multifamily tax exempt program in 2022. So that is our main request, and I appreciate your time here today.
Steve, this is Lori.
Yes.
Thanks for this. It was succinct and you just got right in there with your ask, and you're a good closer. So I want you to know too that council's working on development incentives as well, specifically for low-income housing and specifically around centers and corridors. So I don't want us to be at cross purposes, and I'll be sure to include you. You're new, so we'll start including you in on those conversations. The first one with ADU incentives is going to come before council pretty darn soon. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. And I'm also wanting to have planning consider hiring consultants so that we can get some of our sub-area plans done that will further housing as well, especially around TOD and any kind of centers and corridors where we have opportunities for infill. But some of those sub-area plans haven't been done in order to get us to that point. And we don't have the capacity right now. So it seems the logical thing would be to hire consultants to help us with this work.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. I look forward to talking to you more about that. And as far as any other activity that's going on in the city at council or otherwise that I don't know about, I'm totally interested and welcome, being a part of those meetings. I am meeting with affordable housing developers, and I've met with a couple and have a few more on the calendar coming up because I want to get their input too. This is about, increasing market rate housing, but also workforce housing, affordable housing. And so I'm interested in talking with anybody who's working on those issues.
Hey, Steve, I guess my one concern is just that we're not allocating enough resources into planning to do, really what we need to be doing over this next year with regard to the things that we've put into our housing action plan, potential, comp plan work. There's just a number of things in addition to the sub-area plans that were mentioned, the neighborhood plans, the NEPDA has work that needs to be done that, if it can't come from ARP, it's going to have to come from somewhere. So
Right.
there's a number of things that I just feel like we are setting ourselves up to be vastly under-resourced in the areas where we really do need to be resourcing up so we can get this work done.
Yeah. Point taken, and I'm happy to talk with Tanya and the mayor's staff, and we'd welcome additional staff if we can fit it into the budget.
Hey, Steve, it's Councilwoman Mum. So tomorrow, I'm taking you and Johnny Perkins on a center and corridor tour, and I'm going to give you kind of a whirlwind look at all the great plans that are out there that Councilmember Cathcart mentioned. Some of them are actually funded. And so we do have probably 5 years worth of work backlogged. And I know from talking to the other council members, we're very anxious to make sure we can fund those and allow you to do contractual work. I will tell you on the MFTE, because I was on the last team that worked on that, this has been pretty freshly reviewed. Not that it can't always be looked at with a different lens, but that it seems to me that in your budget requests, there are probably bigger fish to fry here. And I know the council would love to talk to you about that. That would actually get us more return on investment quicker. And not saying that we don't need the help at the counter on MFTEs next year, but happy to discuss that with you offline. This really is, to me, the key to unlocking some of the housing crunch that we have. And it's actually pretty easy work. So I'll meet with you tomorrow on this and look forward to discussing further.
Yeah. Thank you. Look forward to the tour.
Steve,
This is
and
Council
Stephen,
President.
welcome. Good to see you. Welcome to the Zoom world.
Thank
I
you.
just had a question on create a financial impact model to improve decision-making regarding the multifamily tax exemption program. I guess I just need to understand that a little bit more after you above had asked for a position to support the multifamily tax exemption program. So,
I'm sorry, where are you, the first part that you read?
I'm under this support for affordable housing And there's a request, it's not a lot of money, create a financial impact model to improve decision-making regarding the multifamily tax exemption program. And it's under development services, but I just didn't know really what that meant. So
Yeah.
I'm just
No.
asking for clarity.
Yeah, and I'll get you that clarity. I'm not
Okay.
certain, based on that description, exactly what that is referring to.
In the book, it's on page 16
Okay,
in the white book, just so you know.
okay, thank you.
Steve, Council President, and again, welcome. We're so excited to have you. I just wanted to mention in June, we accepted what was called the Housing Action Plan, but it was really the Housing Action Study. And council added on about 37 action steps to start implementing it. I know your planning department has begun to start looking at that, and the one proposal that they brought us unfortunately needed 5 votes because it was on an emergency, and it only got 4, so it didn't get passed. I hope it comes back to us under regular order because I'm sure we have at least 4 votes for it. But what I'm hoping, you mentioned that there's a review going of infill regulations and policies. I would really like to see a timeline of all those 37 action steps of when we're going to look at duplexes in single family next, when we're going to look at minimum lot sizes. And it would really be helpful to get a timeline of understanding that we're down several staff members. So I just want to make that request. And then secondly, I don't know if you know this, but we have several unfilled planning positions. So I'm wondering, do we have lists for those now that we're hiring off of, or we need to do something on recruiting, or are we going to have to hire contractual people until the labor market changes? We just have a lot of pent-up demand going through an understaffed, under-resourced department that has some great folks in it, but being demanded of a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. Yes, we will get you a timeline. I was just on a planning team meeting today where they were talking about coming forward with some of these action steps, and I will circle with them and we'll set a time where we can talk about which ones are coming forward and what that timeline is. And regarding the unfilled positions, I will find out information about, are the lists available now, or what has to take place in order to fill those.
Steve and Council President, this is Brian Coddington. I can give you a partial answer right now. This is Chris Becker's provided this update related to the housing proclamation. There were 2 planning specialists that started this month. One started yesterday, one started on the 4th. There's an assistant planner list that closed last month and is expected to be scored sometime early this month. So there is work happening in both of those areas. So like I said, partial answer for you, but Steve, I think Chris will probably be able to provide you with a greater update in greater detail.
Great, thank you, Brian.
I also, if I may jump back in, Steve, we have 29 fabulous neighborhoods, and they have neighborhood councils who are a huge help in supporting great initiatives. And their plan that they put together is quite good. And I think you'll enjoy interacting with them, but I want to have them at the table, just put that out there a little earlier. If you're doing any analysis on anything, please engage with either the community assembly or the neighborhood councils, the neighborhood chairs effective, because that's what we have found is the greatest outcome. And also, anytime you are touching a code, that's really our side of the house. You probably know that, but you know, the earliest you can get to us on things, and you know, like this, is it CRE analysis or something on our codes? We would have loved to, I will speak for myself, I would have loved to have got given some feedback and participated in it. It's great to hear from staff, but knowing how the community brings what they bring to the table, and you know, their experience along with people in the industry, I think you've just got a lot of resources here. But when it does come to code, just really let's get to the neighborhoods first and get that out there, because we're a big community engagement state, which I know you came from one as well.
Thank you.
All right, City Council, it's been a very good interaction here. We thank you for your time. I do want to back up just a little bit to kind of go over on page 14 some of the funding proposals specifically on the homelessness initiatives to see if we can cover a little more ground and go in a little more depth. And I'm going to tread very, very carefully here, so kind of bear with me. The pandemic did hit, and the mayor covered her timeline beautifully as the city really stepped up to provide these additional services because of the increasing need. And as the mayor's pointed out, the new shelter proposal that she has is so that we're in a more proactive position for what most likely will be coming as a result of the pandemic. But from a financial perspective, I cannot emphasize enough of the lost revenue that the city has had and the impact the pandemic has had on the city and its ability to continue to provide the services. So when you look on page 14 and you see specifically 21, the new Cannon shelter, that is a whole new shelter system that is going to be in excess of $2 million a year to operate on a 24/7, night-by-night basis. That was the issue. The need ran far ahead of our ability to come up with a financial strategy to put that in place before the need arrived, but it's here. The need is here and very demanding. We are using ESG COVID funding for this, and there may be other funding out there. So the proposal that you have for an additional $900,000 to make sure that we can continue this through the fiscal year is more like a contingency plan. There may very well be other federal grants, state grants that we will apply, and we will definitely be trying to use other people's money first to keep these operations whole and moving along. But if we can't, if we're unsuccessful, then the question comes to what other funding sources do we have in our coffers? Again, you heard previously at a previous workshop, the general fund is still down almost 5 million from where we were. So the general fund does not have a lot of capacity to continue to operate a very, very significant operation such as this of a new shelter. So I just want to keep that out there. The new funding source we do have is the local affordable housing tax. That does not mean that this needs to be the only funding source or the permanent funding source for any of these proposals. It may only be that it's bridge financing until we're on a more recovered pace. And then the support of the way out shelter. This is also a new type of housing program. One of the mayor's initiatives regarding homelessness is accountability. This is a step towards that accountability. The $500,000 is included. We have that funding source available. It's from our Housing and Homeless Assistance account. And we reasonably expect that that is going to continue. Those are unallocated revenues from that source only because of the significant increase that we've seen in filing fees. Most of the rest of that funding is already fully committed to the city's 5-year plan. So that is not coming from local affordable housing or the general fund in that fashion. Now, when we look at the crosswalk, as the mayor mentioned, there was a commitment by the city to fund this $1 million. They actually needed $2 million for capital. So it's a one-time contribution to make this project happen. So certainly a one-time contribution from the state shared sales tax that the city has been receiving now for 2 years, and we have not yet allocated any of that funding. This is a really great cause. But that aside, you also have options. This is a one-time, but this was the best fit recommendation. But with 1 million of other funds, that could very well come from unappropriated general fund reserves. But I want to caution that that is our most flexible, and we still don't know what's coming. We still have no idea what this pandemic is going to bring, and it's brought quite a few surprises already. But there are some options, council. And then the capital contribution and the operational contribution for the rapid rehousing project. That was a commitment that was made, and we want to honor that commitment. But there was no identified funding source at the time that that commitment was made. But again, you also have options. Certainly the capital is one time. It could come from the state credit. It could come from local, and it could come from the unappropriated fund balance. The ongoing $1 million, again, the local sales tax, that could just be bridge funding possibly. It doesn't mean it has to be permanent until we can get more recovered than we are right now. And then certainly the expanded and the enhanced emergency sheltering services. The mayor has proposed this so that we are proactive, and of course it is coming, the recommendation is from ARPA for the capital, and then local affordable for the housing sales tax. There really is not, for the operations of this, there are not a lot of other contingency options, but like the first on Cannon, we will continue to seek grant funding. We will continue to look at the state and look at the federal government, and there may be a lot of opportunity to come our way. We just need to be prepared with a contingency plan if that doesn't happen. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. It's a big part of this budget. It doesn't mean we don't have options to consider, but we need to be prepared. We need to have a plan B and get some direction from all of the council as well. But it was also very good to hear that for our local option tax that we are collecting, at least the highest priority of the city council on the use of that. So very much appreciated.
Hey, Tanya.
Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, sorry. Just real quick, when you say there's a $5 million deficit, do you mean that that's money that we can't recoup through paybacks with ARP dollars?
The ARP dollars does have a formula. And like I said, just in 2020, that cap is 21.6 million. But then we're going to lose money again in 2021, and we will most likely lose it again in 2022. So that cap could easily grow to $40 million. But if we were on the same trajectory pre-pandemic, we're estimating that in the general fund, we're still about 5 million behind. And I just can't emphasize enough of how much we have already lost in 2020 and in 2021 that is continuing to put us behind the 8 ball.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Can I jump in here, Councilmember Mumm?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Tanya, I hear that. And we also had some update yesterday at finance showing, because we're down almost 200 people in staffing and salary savings, that our expenses are down almost 4% as well, and that we're showing a net positive for the year of over 4 million. And so it will take us a while to get back up to staff in 2022. Are we including the salary savings in our budget next year for that?
Oh, great question, council member. And you were absent the first one. Actually, we have, because of the great detailed analysis that was done on each vacant position, we actually discounted vacancies and took that into account from 2% to 3%. So we are assuming that there's still going to be some recruiting challenges going forward in 2022. And then on top of an across the board 3% discount, we also had very specific targeted discounts in certain departments where we knew those positions were going to be an even greater challenge to hire for one reason or another. So yes, all of that was definitely taken into account given what we've seen in 2021.
But just to confirm, we're looking at a net positive from expenses and revenue for 2021, correct?
In 2021, we are right now. Some of that, as Paul pointed out yesterday, is going to be a little bit consumed. I think just my own red flag is with fire and their overtime that has definitely impacted the overall costs. And we'll be working on that very closely before year end to get a handle on that.
But it shouldn't consume all 4 million.
No, you're exactly right. And that unappropriated fund balance could be used to help offset some of these.
Right,
Again,
but-
unappropriated fund balance is the most flexible. It does provide us the ability to respond in a very good way to a lot of things coming down the line.
Thank
You're
you.
exactly right.
Council President here, Tanya, I just wanted to confirm. Last time I think we met, you confirmed that the criminal justice sales tax is also available for homeless services, and the REIT, part of the REIT tax is available for homelessness or low-income housing. And your team didn't include those funds as potential quality of life funds. And we have to, of course, look at all the options, and the criminal justice sales tax seems to have a pretty healthy balance currently. And so I'm just wondering why those aren't on the table as options. They may or may not be the best thing. And the reason I say that is I just want to add my voice to some of the voices earlier, just so anyone who's watching understands, is that council, when we passed 1590, really what the intent was to create permanent housing and especially home ownership options. And so that's really there. And we're still waiting for the work to be done on figuring out the criteria for awarding those funds that leave the communities weighing in on that right now, but we haven't really gotten the template yet for that. So, but just confirming that the criminal justice and the REIT are available for homeless housing.
Yes, council member, that is my understanding. We will get you some details, particularly on the REIT. We are limited in how much can be used for operations. So that would be my concern there. Those operations or the maintenance allocation on that for the capital, it's maintenance of capital projects. We will get you the finer details on that.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I will say a lot, yes, the Criminal Justice Account Fund does have a fairly healthy fund balance. And the only reason why those were not out there, they are very well could be viable options of funding, is they're not obvious options of funding. That's not the primary purpose or the intent of those funds. So that's just the reason for that.
But the legislature changed that and made that. I mean, they put it right in there that it is for that, because housing
It can be used for that. It's just not the primary purpose for that. But it can be used. Yes.
Housing reduces crime, so that's why they're there.
Anything else, council? We have one more workshop. We cannot tell you enough how much we appreciate your time going through all of these proposals with us so that we can prepare the final proposed budget for you on November 1st. Councilmember Mumm?
I'm going to be quite frank because I like efficiency. Do you want any feedback before you prepare the final budget? Like give you some idea, like this is just not possible. And then you can adjust some other things, from council, like this just doesn't seem like the right time to do this. Because I'd hate for you to go do all this work and then not have feedback from us. And I appreciate the history today, but it seems like our time would be greater spent on the fourth one to really give you a sense of what might actually be something that the full council could support before you do your final work. Are we going to get down to some details here?
Thank you, Councilmember Mumm. That is the expectation. We are trying to provide you insight. We've provided this on October 4th. This is the opportunity to ask questions. We are allocating about 45 minutes to the close of workshops so we can get your feedback and your direction. So that is certainly the expectation.
Great.
Anything else, City Council? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep, we'll see everyone the next one.
See you on Friday.